welcome back. My name is Bacon Bears. Today we're going to be discussing live family vloggers Ruby Franke, Jodi Hildebrandt. We're going to wait for everybody to get in to the chats. We were discussing them a little while ago, and we were discussing Ruby Franke and Jodi Hildebrandt just separately, and we were watching their footage of when they were being interviewed by the police. So that's what we're going to be discussing now, except we're going to be watching Kevin Franke's interview. Kevin Franke, to me, is very interesting. A lot of people are, how should we treat him? What punishments should he get? He claims that he doesn't know anything that happened because he hasn't been a part of the kids' lives in the past year, because it was Jodi's advice that he stepped away from the family for about a good year so that he could come back and be a part of his family. I understand that you love your wife or your husband or your significant other, whoever that happens to be. I don't understand how you could think that you being separated from your kids for a year makes any sense. But who am I except some person on the internet? My name is Bacon Bears. What are my credentials? I am a mom who is perpetually online. I'm a stay-at-home mom of 2 kids, and I have opinions. If you guys like what you see here, you can follow me on TikTok, on YouTube, on Instagram, on Twitch, where I do all my lives. So that's what we're going to talk about today. I am going to, hold on a second. Oop, thank you, Mr. Pike. Hi, happy birthday, and love you. You're so great. Oh, why is this? Oh, there we go. That's what I need. I need the restream chat. For some reason, the chat won't show up on my Twitch, and I'm not sure why. So I have to go into restream to get my chat, and it's very annoying. So with that being said, I am going to open the chat here, and there we go. So now we're ready. We're going to watch Ruby Franke's husband questioned by cops after kids are found bound in duct tape. These are some pretty heavy subjects. We are going to be talking about child abuse. We are going to be talking about just a lot of really hard stuff. So if you're not in the mental space to handle that, don't worry. Click off. Feel free to not watch this today. If you do want to watch it, let's get started.
I am entertaining the Miranda rights before we start.
So this is, just so you know, this is Kevin Franke. This is the dad of all of the Franke kids, all 6 of them. He was part of the vlog channel that was 8 Passengers with Ruby Franke, who is now going to prison for 4 counts of second-degree child abuse. I understand that people want to make sure that they get a conviction, but how they couldn't prove first degree is beyond me, because this was all very, very intentional. Ruby Franke's husband, Kevin Franke, was a part of 8 Passengers when the red flags really started going up. And there's a lot of phone calls that were made from Ruby to Kevin from prison, where she has said, you have seen the evil, you've been there, Do I think he was a part of the abuse? Yes, especially because Sherry and I believe her son, was it Carter, or their older son, are estranged from their parents now. And hey, Jesse, thank you. 30 months in a row. Thank you for that sub. I appreciate you. Thank you. Thank you. Now I forgot where I was. Thank you, Jesse. Do I think he was a part of the abuse? Yes. Do I think it got worse after he left the house? Yes. Do I think that Jodi amped up a lot of the abuse? Also, yes. I do know that a lot of times when a buffer leaves the house, a lot of the abuse can get way worse. Um, some of the things that Kevin says, some of his actions don't make sense to me. But let's watch the interview and I'll give you my thoughts. If you guys want, subscribe, follow, do all the things. Jesse, thank you for subscribing on Twitch for 30 months in a row. I really appreciate you. I do have a Discord. You guys have to be subbed in order to get in there. But other than that, let's go.
A few questions about your involvement. Okay. So, first, you have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be held against you in the court of law. Okay. You have the right to an attorney or to have him or her present while questioning. If you cannot afford to hire one, one will be hired to.
So now I've never been in this position. I've never been interrogated by police, but it is my understanding that he is not under arrest. Do the police still read you your Miranda rights if you're not technically under arrest? I don't know. I mean, I'm glad I don't know, to be honest with you, because ugh.
To represent you. If you decide to answer questions, you can stop at any time. Okay? Do you understand your rights?
I do.
Okay. Do you wish to speak to me now?
Well, I want to pick up my kids.
How about this? We're going to ask you some questions, and if you don't want to answer them, you just say, hey man, I'm not going to answer that.
Sure.
And
But just say, hey, I'm not going to talk, that's not beneficial to you, and then we're done, you're nowhere, and we're nowhere, and
Sure.
you understand?
I want to pick up my kids. Sir, you haven't seen your kids in a year. In a year. Let's just remember that.
That, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, so just for starters, what was your full name?
Kevin William Franke.
How to spell that?
KEVINWILLIAMFRANKE.
And what's your date of birth? What's a good address for you?
I'm not comfortable giving my address right now.
Okay. But you do live in Springville?
I do.
How long have you lived in Springville
Why? You don't think they can find out where you live?
for?
I moved there in 2007 with my family, so
And how many?
17 years.
17. And how many kids do you have, Kevin?
I have 6 kids.
And what are their names?
What you hear when the sound goes out, it's because a lot of this is redacted because a lot of them are minors. So just bear with me.
I can't remember. Some of them are teenagers, 2 adults.
So are they all living with you, or
No, I haven't seen them for over a year.
any of
For
them?
over a year.
No, none of them.
For a year.
Over a year.
Okay.
I've been in a separation
From who?
from my wife and family.
What's your wife's name?
Ruby.
Ruby. When's the last time you saw Ruby?
The last time I saw her,
I can't imagine under what circumstance you could convince me that I'm separating from my husband, but I would have to separate from my children for over a year. No contact, just, all right, I want this marriage to work out, but I don't get to be present with my kids for over a year.
Yeah.
was the 18th of this month. We met she requested me to sign over vehicles, or the titles to the vehicles, the vehicle that she drives, that were all in my name.
When's the last time you physically saw Russell or Eve?
What did you guys meet about this year? Oh, she wants the titles to the cars.
The day that I moved out, July 24th, 2022.
24th of 2022.
I'm gonna
Or
crochet.
July 25th, July 25th.
So it's my understanding that at least
Okay.
home here in Kayenta and Ivans, have you been to that home?
No,
You've not been to that home?
no, I don't know.
So he
I
doesn't
don't
even know
know
where
what's
his kids.
anything that's been going on.
Like, this is good, man. Like, I would love to be able to help you out with this, and like, I'm seeing a light at the end of this tunnel, because I'm unaware of your involvement in what's really going on. So for you to say that you're unaware of the status of your kids kind of makes...
He should
I know
just
that
say, I'm
sounds
unaware
kinda
of.
crummy to you.
I'm unaware of everything. I haven't seen my kids in more than a year. Yes, I am making a new blanket. I'll have to show you my old one. It came out so nice. I'll send you a picture.
But it sounds kind of good to me. Like, who lives in that home with your... Is it ex-wife? Is it currently a separated wife? Like, who lives in that home with your children?
Oh, and it's
To be
not
honest,
just.
I don't know.
It's not just who. Oh, you motherfucker. Oh, I don't know who. You have no idea who lives in the home with your children. Get a grip, first of all. Second of all, your children are not only living in this house that you have no idea where it is, but they're living with Jodi Hildebrandt, and Jodi Hildebrandt is running an Airbnb out of that house. People you don't know running strangers in and out of this home. It's disgusting.
I know that she's there with 4 of the children, and our 2 older children have moved out.
So 4 of the kids live there.
They're not at your home in Springville? And I'm not trying to trip you up. I can see you're hesitant to talk to me. I understand that.
Well, where I live, no,
Yeah.
I haven't seen them for over a year.
Any of them.
That's tough. I can only imagine how that feels, man. I got
Is
kids and not have seen them for that long.
Is it? Because he seemed to do it willingly. Is it that tough for him?
That would tear a little piece of my heart out.
Because you're a good dad.
Of age to drive. Does she drive?
I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know.
Like I said, I know nothing that's going on
So-
in their lives or anything going on.
How did you find out that you needed to come here to 55 North Main Street?
I received a message that I needed to come pick up my kids from the police department in Highlands.
And who was that message from?
Well, I prefer not to say right now.
Why?
It would just help us a lot.
I'm trying to figure out who reached out to you because it makes sense that that would happen. I'm just not aware of anyone who did that from our department.
Right. And I'm not comfortable saying right now
Why?
who reached out to me.
Okay.
Why?
Okay.
So, you haven't seen any of your kids in over a year, you said?
That's correct.
And then, how old last time you saw her? How old is she now?
15.
She's 16 now? Okay. And then, when all the kids left, Ruby took all of them?
Yeah, she stayed in the house and I moved out.
Okay. And did you ever try to reach out to the kids, drop by the home, or
No.
was
I
there?
honored the no separation boundary that we agreed to.
So, what
Or
was
no
your separation?
contact boundary, excuse me.
Did you?
There is not a chance in hell that my husband could be like, we're separating and also you can't see the children. Period. You're going to have to fight me tooth and nail to keep me away from my children.
Do you have a no contact order in place?
Or, no, this was between my wife and I.
Yeah, this is
So
just because we
what
agreed
did
that I wouldn't
Ruby
see them.
ask of you when you separated?
What did she ask of me?
Did she ask you not to contact the kids?
Ruby invited me to leave the home.
Mm-hmm.
Invited
while
me to
I,
leave the home.
Thought about the choices that I've made in my life and the way that I've treated her.
Okay.
And so I left.
And how long had you and Ruby been married before?
We were married in 2000.
So about 22 years?
When we separated, we were going on 22 years. Yes.
Okay. And during your marriage, how was disciplining your kids? How would you discipline your kids?
Careful.
Yeah, I'm not going to answer that question.
I'm not going to answer that.
That's fine.
Have you been since separated or since they lived here in the city of Ivins? Have you communicated with your wife regarding like discipline with your kids or their care or their physical well-being?
Chris, thank you.
So is she doing this on her own and just telling you how your kids are?
Thank you for the heart.
She's not telling me anything about the kids.
So not only are you not seeing your children, but you're also not getting any updates on them either. You have no idea what they're doing. You have no idea where they're at. You have no idea who they're spending time with. You have no idea who's running in and out of this house. And this isn't even something that you put at like an order. He doesn't even have an order against him. This is just something that Ruby said, agree to do this. This will fix our marriage. And he said, okay.
Female Jodi that your wife was with. Do you know a female named Jodi?
She is a therapist and a life coach, I know. And she's
a therapist and a
Do
life
you
coach.
respect her?
do I respect her? Yeah, I think she's a very honest, truthful person, yes.
Okay.
A very honest, beautiful person. I need to know when this was. Was this before or after he sort of figured out what's going on? Because I'm going to give him I don't know why I'm going to do this, but I am going to give him the benefit of the doubt that he doesn't know everything just yet.
You place value on Jodi?
I don't know what that means.
Like, do you value what she says and how she treats? Is your wife a client of hers? Is your wife a partner of hers?
Hi,
Is
Yoli.
your wife a roommate with her? Your kids are living in her house is what I'm trying to say.
I'm not aware of that, but I know that they've been in business for the last year filming.
Who's they?
Ruby and Jodi.
They've been in
Ruby and
business.
Jodi.
Now, that's the other thing that you guys need to remember. Ruby Franke and Jodi Hildebrandt had a YouTube channel or like a podcast or something through a company called Connections. And it was basically where they would sit and they would give parenting advice, or they would give relationship advice, or, you know, they would sit and do all of these things when they were doing all these horrendous things behind the scenes. One of the things that they do end up bringing up is the fact that Jodi Hildebrandt asked Ruby to sign over 8 Passengers, which is the YouTube channel that Kevin Franke and Ruby Franke had with their 6 kids. And what he comes out later to say is that Jodi wants all of it. And Ruby was making millions from this YouTube channel, this family vlogging channel. And they amassed, I think, over 2 million followers on YouTube. And that's just what they got from the AdSense revenue. That's not what they got from brand sponsorships and all of this. And Jodi was like, hey, why don't you give me that? And you get nothing in return. So as of right now, his understanding is that they're in business together. And oh boy, they're in business together. That's for sure.
Podcasts, and so every week a podcast goes up and I listen to it. And
What's the name of it?
Connections with an X.
Like CON.
CONNEXIONS. Yeah.
And do you support them in that role and doing that and having?
Do I support them in the business?
Yeah, like do you support them and think that what they're doing is a good thing, or?
Yeah, I support their business efforts. I think it's a good thing.
Are you involved with their business efforts, or?
No.
Okay. So just Ruby and Jodi. No
In
Kevin.
the business?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
And were you involved in the 8 Passengers account with your family?
Yep.
Yes. I was in the videos.
I was in the video.
I briefly learned about.
I was in the videos. It was a family vlogging channel. And there were times, there was him on screen where he admits, hi, grape juice, where he admits that people were reaching out to him at the time and he didn't want to discuss how they were disciplining the kids because he thought it would be taken and looked at as abuse. Okay.
About this 2 hours ago.
So, did Ruby more so do the videos for the family? And how long did
Three
you guys do
Masons.
that for?
What does that mean? Teach me. Padawan.
She started the channel in 2015, and as far as I'm aware, from the time I left, the last video she uploaded was towards the end of 2021.
Okay.
And again, I'm not aware of
How
anything
can
she's
you be, you have somebody filming your children while you're in the house and putting them on the internet. How can you just be like, I'm aware, I don't know. Aren't you present? Didn't you get married to be present with that woman? Didn't you have children to be present with those beings?
since our separation. I don't visit a passengers anymore.
Chapter of your life that's gone.
It's a past chapter, yeah.
So how do you and Ruby communicate? Just through text,
connections.
phone call?
He listens to the
Text,
podcast,
if
apparently.
there's anything considered an emergency, we agreed that we would communicate through a phone call.
Okay. And do you know her phone number off the top of your head?
The top of my head, no.
Okay. No worries. So, how often would you guys communicate while she was down here?
Well, I don't know
Hi,
how
Amanda.
often or long she was down here. We've communicated maybe 4 times in 2023 since
Oh my
January.
God.
So
And
are you
only
aware
about
of how she
emergencies.
is?
Only about emergencies. And he hasn't really talked to her. Don't you want to know what your children are up to? Don't you want to know what their interests are, what achievements they've had, good grades, accomplishments? Don't you want any of these things?
Disciplines the kids, or how she handles
No.
the kids with behavior.
I get excited to pick my daughter up from school and she gets to tell me about her day. Good, bad, indifferent, whatever it is. How did you experience today?
Real issues or anything like that?
No.
So you're unaware of how she does that?
Yes.
Okay. Are you aware of the physical condition of your children?
No.
Interesting.
No. I've chosen to trust my wife with the children.
Oh, well, that was a
That
mistake.
was part of the agreement of our separation.
Is that you allow her to physically provide for the needs of the child? You're just removed from that? I mean, you pay support. I know this is personal questions, but
Yes, my job is to financially provide for them.
I'm just trying to figure out, like, how much of a role do you play in the caretaking of specifically?
I want to know. I wish I knew what he knew right now, like at this moment. How much information does he have? Who gave him what?
Of those 2 kids?
I pay the bills.
Okay.
With my job, I provide the money, goes into
I pay all of the bills and I am not allowed to see any of my children for more than a year and a half. No.
a shared bank account, and that's my only involvement.
Okay. Like, there's a whole bunch of things I want to talk to you about, but I still can't get over the fact that someone notified you to come here to pick up your kids. My guess is, was that Jodi?
I'm not going to answer that question.
Okay.
All I'll say is
They're going to find
Well,
out.
someone
You said you
notified
trusted her. You said that you think that she's not necessarily. I asked you if you placed
I bet you
value
it was
on her.
Ruby.
You obviously.
she is an honest, I know her to be an honest and a
Honest.
trustworthy individual.
Trustworthy.
And so, yeah, I trust her.
Oh boy.
And I received a communication that
I love too, whoever
so I
gave
left
him that
immediately.
information said you need to come to the police station, not you need to go to the hospital, not you need to, who you need to talk to, but you need to come pick your kids up at the police station.
My job and drove down here. That's all I know. I've come to pick up my kids and to take them home with me.
Oh.
Do you have any, is there custodial paperwork that says that you're like there's no custodial paperwork denying you of rights, correct?
There's no custodial paperwork at all.
Period.
This
So the
was-
kids are yours.
They are.
Yeah,
mine.
because I just
Okay,
agreed to
yes.
leave out of my own free
This
will.
wasn't just a verbal agreement between my wife and I when we separated last year.
Well, what questions do you have?
Oh, I want to know what's going on. And
There we
why
go.
I was asked to come down and pick up my 2 kids.
Well,
And
we
a
don't-
lot of that kind of hinges on who asks you, because if we had been the one, like, I'm not going to say you fit, but I'm confident a cop didn't call you because we wouldn't have wanted you down here at this point in our investigation. So, having said that,
Interesting.
I think it's time we be honest with you, right?
Sure. No, and I didn't lie.
You're
Someone contacted me, but I don't want to
you said
say
someone
without
from your office, but okay.
well, I don't recall saying someone from my office.
Our office.
No.
someone, yeah, so we don't know who called you. So
That's right.
if we
Ruby
knew
Franke.
who called you, then we could help you,
It would make more sense.
but
Well, I don't know the legal ramifications of implicating individuals who contacted me, and so without a lawyer here, I don't want to answer that question.
that's okay.
I
But
appreciate
you want to know specifics of the case, which we can't share right now because it's under investigation.
And it's your
So-
kids.
I see.
Yeah, so we would like to ask questions about where you found out, but we'll respect that if you don't want to share that information. But I am curious, when you guys had the previous 8 Passengers YouTube channel, you guys got a lot of heat for neglect and child
Yup.
abuse. A lot of people commented those things on there. Why were they commenting those things?
Yeah, Kevin.
That's a good question. We had a son who was acting out.
Oh,
in
it
very-
wasn't. No, Kevin. I am going to stop you right there because it wasn't just your son. And yes, you did punish your son by taking his bedroom and his bed away for 7 months when he played a small prank. Thank you, Ember, for the rose. Sorry, I didn't see it. I'm on my computer, so sometimes it doesn't show the gifs. But the older child played a prank on the younger child and woke him up in the middle of the night and told him he was going to Disneyland. And then when he got up and he packed his bags, he found out that he wasn't going to Disneyland and he was all upset. So for that, they punished him by taking away his bed. So he had to sleep on a beanbag in the living room, if I remember correctly. Then their youngest daughter, the one that they found in the closet, she was about 5, 6 maybe. And there was a big to-do because the school had called Ruby and said we'll just call her E for all intensive purposes, but E didn't have a lunch today. Would you mind bringing lunch? And there's a clip of Ruby that says, no, I'm not bringing her lunch. It was her responsibility to pack her lunch. It was her responsibility to get up in the morning and do that. And she didn't do that. And she lied to me and told me that she did pack her lunch. And now she doesn't get to eat, and I hope that nobody feeds her to ease their discomfort with the fact that I'm not bringing her food. Ma'am, she's 5. She's 5. I'm 38 years old, and sometimes I get so distracted that I walk out of the house to do whatever I'm doing without my lunch. That doesn't mean I should be punished with not being able to eat. And the thing is she can't help herself. I'm an adult with money, so I can go to, wherever to get fast food. Or I can go and make myself food. But I would never, if my daughter was like, hey, I forgot my lunch, I'd never be like, well, that's your problem. I would just be, and if I couldn't get to her and that's the thing, Ruby was a stay-at-home mom. As a parent, it is your job to see what your children are doing and then follow through. I was raised in an environment where too much responsibility was put on the child, and then the child was not shown the right ways to do things, and then they were punished for it. It is your job to tell your daughter that it is her responsibility to make lunch in the morning. Okay, if that's your rule, that's your rule. But it is also, as an adult and as a parent, to walk behind them and say, hey, did you pack your lunch? Did you pack a juice box? Did you do this stuff? You know, my daughter is 4, and I lay out her clothes on the bed and she gets herself dressed. I have to follow through. This morning, she did a perfect job. Dressed herself from head to toe. Her shoes were on backwards. Her shirt was on backwards. I'm not going to be like, oh my God, then you just go to school like that because you can't put your... No. I asked her, hey, look at the tag. Where does this go in the back? Your shoes are on the wrong feet. Maybe we should switch them. It's your job to help them. They are experiencing the world for the first time. And that's, and again, we talk about the punishment or the discipline fitting the crime. She forgot her lunch. She is 5. That doesn't mean she gets to not eat. Feed her, for Christ's sake. Also, she needs to have sustenance through the day to be able to function in school. If you require that having a punishment, which it shouldn't be like, you know what, no tablet after school. No TV after school. You don't get to play with your favorite toy or whatever. I think it's ridiculous. But taking away necessities as a punishment, I believe is gross. The whole lunch shit is a wild one to me. I pack a lunch, a snack, a water bottle for my son no matter what. He could throw a massive fit, and that is always in his backpack. My husband gets up at 4 a.m. and I have offered to make him a lunch because I care about him, because I want him to be healthy and fed throughout his day. He's 39 years old now. He just had a birthday. He's 39. He could pack his own lunch, but I would love to do that for him. Also, as a stay-at-home mom, why are you putting responsibilities like making a lunch on your 5-year-old baby? Like, her job is to just exist at this moment. Happy late birthday to Mr. Bacon. Thank you. But he's going to bring up the bed thing, and it's not just the bed thing. And also, just to add, he was having issues with their older, or not just him, but the family alleges that they were having issues with the older son, so they sent him to one of those, like, camps. I want to say it was called, like, Anastasi camp, something like that. Judas Cow, hi, if you're still here. I saw that. Sorry.
Selfish behavior.
Selfish behavior.
Yes,
Selfish behavior.
Yeah.
Let me tell you something. I've been following the Sebastian Rogers case. Who is that? I don't know who that is. Hi, Judas. But that's the other thing. Selfish behavior. This is a sibling thing, okay? One sibling woke up another sibling and told him he was going to Disneyland. Is it mean? Yeah. Did he make the little guy cry? Yeah. But let me tell you, I've seen some sibling shit. He didn't touch him. He didn't punch him in the face. Nobody got hurt. 7 months without a bedroom, I think, is a little crazy.
And, none of this is strange or odd. You could get on YouTube and find out all sorts of stuff on this.
It's like a double-edged sword.
Whereas the question is, what do you believe, right? There was even an article written in Newsweek magazine in 2020 on it, or was it Newsweek? No, Business Insider, where we were interviewed, and we were pretty straightforward when we talked about it, and we shared our piece in that. Basically, it boils down to he was being very cruel and mean to his siblings that he shared a room with, and so we removed him from the room. And we said, you can sleep anywhere you want. Sleep on the couch, sleep on the pull-out bed.
He played a prank on his brother.
I don't care, but you're not sleeping in that room with your brother. He chose to sleep on a beanbag. So 9 months later, he had
Well, and mind
made a
you,
lot of
too,
changes.
the reason that everybody found out about this is because she's sitting with her camera in front of her, and her son is sitting to her side, and he brings this up, and she giggles. And she goes, oh my God, I don't think our viewers knew about that. Disciplining your kids isn't funny. Like, trying to correct their behavior is not comical. Like, you shouldn't relish in the fact that you've taken on these punishments for your children. Have flown by full-blown WWE match on a daily basis as they navigate each other's boundaries. It's going to be rough. It's literally my job to teach them better ways to deal with it, not punish them for learning. And that's the thing. I have this conversation with my daughter all the time. She is a, like, just little spark plug, okay? And she comes off with an attitude all the time. I give her the opportunity to fix it. If she does not fix it, I'll say, excuse you, or would you like to try that again with the way that you're speaking to me? And sometimes she'll come back and be like, Mom, please, can I have whatever? Yes, of course. Talk to me like a person. But sometimes she'll be like, no, I said blah, blah, blah. And I'll be like, okay, you don't need to talk to me about it right now then. I'm not speaking to you that way. You don't need to speak to me that way. And then we both go to our respective corners, and then we come back. But if my daughter was screaming at me, I don't think there's any amount of screaming that she could do that I'm like, you don't get to eat for 3 days.
In his life, and he was ready to, and we had moved by that time, and so we had a new house, and he was ready to move into his own bedroom. Made a video about it, and in the video he mentioned something to the effect of,
yeah, it's wild.
I've been sleeping for 9 months on a beanbag. And that is what all the uproar was about.
What did you guys do to help, like, with his behavioral issues? Is that something you and Ruby talked about together? And then did you?
Yeah, what did you guys do? I can't wait to hear if they come out with something.
Helping you discover yourself and fix behavioral issues and things like that. Is that something you and Ruby sought out to help correct, like, some of the things?
Yes, and
Okay.
and I supported it, and so together we held boundaries for our son.
We held boundaries.
To
Here's
support
my thing
his-
too. Ruby talked a lot about it on her channel, that the kids don't get privacy. This is my house. You don't speak to me a certain way. You don't do certain things. And they talk a lot about boundaries against their kids. When did you allow your kids to put up boundaries against you? When? My kids have boundaries with me. For example, my daughter does not like kisses. She does not like them. She tells me to give her cheek, or I'll ask her now, can I please have a kiss? And she will say yes, or she will say no. But that's her boundary. That's her body. That's her. It is not for me to take away. But if I have boundaries from her, and when I ask her, please don't touch me, or please don't do that, or please don't whatever, I also have to respect that. You get what you give. For example, if you call your kids names every single day and then they call you names back, you can't be like, oh, that's disrespectful. Yeah, you're disrespectful for them. If you consistently cross your children's boundaries, what example are you putting into place for them to respect yours? You don't respect boundaries. Why should I? For what?
Choosing honest and responsible choices. And when he chose honest and responsible choices consistently is when he began to get his privileges back. And that was.
And here's the thing, right? Honest and responsible choices according to you. And these are parents who consistently and on video continued to move the goalpost. They just continued to make up rules and move the goalpost.
Great parenting, right?
Well, that was the uproar, right?
Yeah.
And so, but yes, through 2000.
And here's the other thing. Here is the other thing. He, again, is blaming his son, not only for the behavior, which I understand, you know, kids are going to get out of pocket with your behavior, but he's blaming the son that he said on video, oh, I was sleeping for 9 months on a sleeping bag or a bean bag. And that's why everybody went bonkers with this abuse thing. Excuse me, Mr. Oh, I don't know what Ruby puts up. Let me tell you something. As a content creator, the world gets what I put out there because I edit the videos. She didn't have to put that out there, but she thinks it's funny. She wants people to see how she punishes her son. And you still have the balls to sit here and say, oh, it's because my son said this on a video. No, it's because your wife left it in. Thank you. The double-sidedness of abuse and disrespect is crazy for me. I remember so vividly all the shit that I dealt with as a child, and I would never do that to my kids. Never. Never. The redaction stuff is crazy. I keep thinking that they are taking the volume out.
What other kids?
Yeah, did you send any of the other kids down to
Oh, we
spend
didn't
time with
send
Jodi?
Okay.
down to spend time with Jodi. They would meet on Zoom.
That makes sense.
Okay.
Yeah, we were in the spring stuff. Well, even in 2019, she would meet with them.
So when did
The buzzing
Ruby
is so
and
loud.
Jodi, to your knowledge, like decide to collaborate, come together and mesh lives? Because that's what's happened.
Well, they decided to start a business in
TikTok's angry. Why?
2021.
So while you and Ruby were together.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, but there were,
I've
at that
apologized to my
period, it
kids
was pretty nebulous.
every day.
I don't know.
8 times a day.
What's that word mean?
It was just a lot of talk, and
Got
there
it.
weren't like solid plans. It was, let's start by doing podcasts together, and then that's all I know. I know that they published a book together recently. You can find it on Amazon. It's not a secret.
Was the business thriving? Like life was good between those two?
Well, not that
Protect the
I was
community's
aware.
experience.
Well, at some point, and again, I'm not digging into your life, but I'm trying to understand this. At some
Multiple
point,
apologies every day. Exactly.
We
they
took,
kick you out.
when you talk about a business, thriving in terms of business and money, when we stopped 8 passengers on YouTube, we lost 90% of our income. So to say that business was thriving,
90% of our
in my
income.
perspective, no.
Got it.
I don't think it ever was. After that.
Was that part of your guys' reason for separation after you guys ended 8 passengers?
Was that part of the reason? The reasons are because of.
Apparently, some of the comments in TikTok are getting filtered, and it says to protect the community's experience. My mod had just told me about that. I want to let you guys know that if you are commenting and you're not seeing anything, that is not us. That is just TikTok doing it. I also understand that we are talking about some very heavy stuff today, so I would expect to see that. And, I get to use foul language because I'm the one on video. But if you guys want to make sure that you don't get, silenced, just try to word your stuff nicely, I guess, as nicely as you can watching this.
Ways that I treated my wife, and some of my own addictions that I was working through and
My own
seeking
addictions.
help on with pornography.
Pornography.
Thank you for sharing that.
And I've made some wonderful progress.
Like, is that something you came to the realization that you needed help and weren't doing things right, or is that something that, like, Jodi helped you guys recognize that maybe Ruby needed more? I'm
He
trying
had
to
an adult
understand
content addiction?
her involvement in your guys' life.
Now, mind
She's
you,
my focus.
Jodi Hildebrandt's definition of addiction is you watch it once and you're addicted. You're living a distortion. And I do know that. So did he truly have an adult content addiction, or did he watch it because he's a regular human being who intakes some of that content, and that's what she called an addiction so that she could use it against him? Is why we enjoy their company. Exactly.
To be honest.
I understand, and I can perceive that. Jodi and Ruby have a close relationship, and
How close?
and Jodi saw the need for me to get help, and frankly, I agree. The space has been exactly what I need to face, my own addictions and.
But hold on a second,
receive,
because there's two people in this marriage. So what you're telling me, I'm not TikTok safe. But what you're telling me is that only you had addictions. Only you were living in distortion. Only you had issues. Ruby had no issues at the time. Okay.
support and help that I've needed, and so this space has been very, very good for me.
So when you stated that you
Yeah,
and Ruby had this
imagine. You have a wife and 6 kids and a camera in your face every single day. I would think that maybe the space would be good too. I couldn't imagine a year and a half. But imagine, for a guy like this, somebody to be like, hey, take a year and a half off from being married and seeing your kids. Just go, live your life. Some people would be like, fuck yeah, I'm out of here. Yeah, I just switched to be safe. Seems to me Ruby was addicted to controlling and manipulating her children. Yeah. Yeah.
no contact that you guys just verbally agreed upon. Was that an idea given by Jodi that she recommended you guys have that space and not contact one another?
I'm not aware of that. The invitation for me to leave and take space was from my wife.
Okay.
But that was while Jodi and Ruby were friends
Exactly.
and collaborating and doing podcasts and
Sure.
Well, you're the custodial parent of these children. I don't see why we can't explain to you why we're involved. So I don't recall the exact time, but sometime before 11 o'clock today, we received
I'm
a
nervous.
phone call from 911 on our dispatch that a 12 to 13-year-old boy was knocking on doors in a neighborhood asking for food and water, that he was severely emaciated, that he had
What does emaciated mean?
skinny, scrawny, malnutrition, not enough food, not enough water to sustain life. So
I'm sorry, what?
he had duct tape on his extremities, on his hands, on his ankles, and those were covering rope burns that were used to tie him down.
Tie him down.
Take a second and think about what I just said.
That's
That's the
not mine.
condition of your
That's
son.
the police's in the video.
Given that information, your son was taken to the hospital. A warrant has been applied and granted by the Department of Child and Family Services
Sure.
to remove
You guys are the worst.
from your wife's care. So no one right now is going to have access to these two children based on their physical condition. Do you understand that?
I understand.
would you condone that behavior?
Would I condone that behavior?
That's my job. My job is to find out your knowledge of the treatment of these
Based on your
precious
description,
children.
no. But again, I don't know the details, or I don't know what's going on. But as you
Not me.
described that sounds
Horrible, disgusting.
Yeah.
No human being should be treated like that.
okay.
That's my thoughts. But again, we might be different on that.
But who am I?
We're gonna sit here for a second, okay? We're gonna go out and talk.
He looks legitimately upset.
I'm not saying you're still not free to go. Are you under arrest? Absolutely not. We just have lots of questions that we need to figure out. Lots. Okay?
Okay, because...
Well, I don't understand.
children
Wait,
are
I don't
under
understand
medical
how
care.
that works. Which, thankfully, I've never been in this position. He's not free to go, but he's not under arrest. So you're detaining him. I don't understand. Can I leave or not? If I'm not arrested, why do I have to stay here?
Right now.
And what does that mean?
And it means that you don't have access to them. My understanding is that they are, what is that?
They're in the custody of DCFS.
And they will be for the next 7
There's a medical hold on them right now. So for at least the next 72 hours, based on our understanding.
At least the next 70.
During observation, they're being watched.
DCFS is going to provide you that information, and they can better answer your questions along those lines. That's handled through them. Okay? So we'll be back.
So I want you to think about some things, though.
I don't know.
Listen to me.
That's it.
Listen to me. I want you to think about that for a minute. I have no idea where they're at.
Well, I don't either. But,
Okay, we're gonna hop out here. We'll be back in a minute, okay? That's still recording audio and video, okay? So if you would, don't make any phone calls.
Yeah, so don't do any Jodi area shit where you start standing on your head and singing. He does look visibly upset. I'll give him that. He does look like a bomb has just been dropped. Ah! They left their phone in the room. That does have to be, if he really doesn't know, right? And this abuse really didn't ramp up until Jodi showed up and he left. This really has to be a bomb. Allegedly, no, he's been gone for the past over a year. I can't imagine. I can't imagine seeing the pictures that they're going to show him. I don't know. Okay, let's get through this. Do they come back? Hello? Okay. Most replayed. So I feel like they come back in here. No? Maybe right here. Oh! What happens? And let me tell you something. There have been a couple instances that things have happened to my children, and I've had a physical reaction. Like when my daughter was in the hospital and doctors delivered news to us, I started throwing up. Like there is something that happens to you sometimes as a person that you just can't help. So I I can't imagine. But he hasn't spoken to them. So he and his wife agreed, there's no paperwork, no nothing. He and his wife agreed that he would step away to help their marriage. And he has been separated from everybody, his wife and his 6 children, for the past over a year. I believe, if that's correct. And imagine processing somebody just telling you this. I don't even think my brain could handle. Oh, he's crying.
What's going to happen? It's my wife. I love my wife.
Oh! See, this is where I start getting upset. And I've heard the conversations that he's had with Ruby, right? What's going to happen to my wife? I love my wife. No. Where are my kids? Are they okay? How do I help protect them? How do I fuck Ruby? I love my husband with my whole being, that I decided to marry and carry not marry his children, but marry him and carry 2 of his children. If they said that your children were in your husband's possession and they were duct tape and they were bound and they were emaciated, my first question would not be, but what about my husband?
I don't know. I'm being honest with you. I don't know. Haven't had an interview with
I
you.
don't think those charges against my wife.
Possibly.
What? What?
Honest with you. I don't know. Haven't had an interview with
I
you.
don't think those charges against my wife.
Possibly.
Against my wife. I don't know what he said.
I think given the circumstances, that's highly appropriate. But again, I don't know your wife. I was hoping to gain some insight from you, but I don't necessarily know that that's something you wanted to,
I trust her.
a road you wanted to
Oh, do
travel
you?
down with me. So
Do you?
Not without legal.
You trust her still? You're in a police station. Your wife is under arrest. Your kids are with DCFS. If anyone else asked, had killed them yet, or if they were still time before they got put into prison. Yeah, more like what happens to my wife now. Can my kids be protected from her? Yes, that would have been the question. Yes.
No representation.
yeah, all right, I get it.
I want
I love
representation.
my wife and I trust my wife.
I love her and I
And so,
trust
I mean,
her.
this feels like getting run over by a steam truck, what you're sharing with me today.
Yeah, I can tell you're caught off guard.
I thought I was just coming here to pick up my kids. And for
Yeah, I thought you might be caught off guard if you don't see your kids for over a year.
what, I don't know what or why, but. And I was planning on taking them back with me and just.
I mean, I'd love to have a candid conversation with you. I just don't know how it's going to be received by you. I don't know.
Exactly,
you, but I can tell you
Ember.
my perception of
He
how it's happening.
then later tells her, that's why I want to know in this where this is, because he then later tells Ruby that he will stand by her no matter what. Now, is that after this interview? Because if that's after this interview, which I think it is, because he makes mention that they're going to be in DCFS's care for 3 days. It's 1:11. Everybody make a wish.
Well, I'm
Whether you have
interested
that or
in.
not, it's
Look, I'm interested in facts, but again,
I got to be honest with you. The fact that he hasn't gotten legal representation by now is amazing. Amazing.
at the same time, I'm interested in all the facts.
But you understand our facts. Our facts are that you have a child that is emaciated, malnutrition.
Yeah, what other facts do you need? That's a great. I'm interested in all of the facts. I don't need any more facts. Why does my child look like that? Why has my child not been fed? Why does he have wounds on him? I don't need any more facts. I don't need you to justify anything. Daniel Tiger's neighborhood game on my blanket, twirling her curly hair. I'll never understand the things these monsters can do with children, and people don't bury them instantly. You know what? In certain things, eye for an eye. Eye for an eye. Make her work in the desert in her bare feet. And, she later goes on to say in her journal or whatever that she kicked her son in the head with boots on. Do that. Everything that she did to these children should be done to her. But instead, she's going to get fresh clothes. She's going to get a fresh bed. She's going to get 3 meals a day, as we've talked about earlier. She's going to get rec time with her new prison friends. And she's just going to be able to live in an environment that will be torture for her, right? Exactly. Put cayenne pepper and honey on their wounds and then wrap them in saran wrap and wrap them in duct tape, because that's what we see fit at the time. And then if she side-eyes you or gives you any sort of attitude and you go, you're living in distortion, take away her meals for 4 days. But no, she gets to have, a commissary, right? Is that what it's called? Where, people get to send her money and she gets to buy things from the, jail store, and she gets to talk to people on the phone, and just... I'm curious, Judas. I'm curious as to what's going to happen to her in jail. I really am.
And has marks. I didn't spend any time with her. Sergeant Tobler did.
Did any of you spend time with her?
He didn't spend time
I
with
have
her.
not.
She was requested to go to the hospital along with Russell, based on their condition.
The next question, Kevin, would be, what is their condition? They were sent to the they were sent to the hospital based on their condition. What condition? What condition are my children in? Is it that hard? I'm sorry I'm yelling and I'm probably blowing everybody's earbuds out, but I can't understand how hard it is for you to just be like, what condition? Tell me about my kids. If she gets yard time. If she's ever in Gen Pop. Yeah.
I don't know what to do. Like, I want to... You realize that I have a picture of my family on my wall.
Oh, I have a picture of my family on my wall that I left for a year. No contact. Unbelievable. You know what? I gotta tell you, if there's anybody who can convince me that they were brainwashed, it's Kevin Franke. Honestly, way more than Ruby Franke.
And I work every day so I can back to my family and save my family. And everything you're sharing to me just sounds like a made-up story. Like, I have no idea what you're talking about. Like, it sounds like a horror movie.
That was weird.
And I get you're all doing your jobs. I get it. I understand. And this is my life.
No, that was actually what you heard was TikTok telling me that there was no engagement for 5 minutes. So they're like, hello, are you still here? Like, yeah, I'm streaming. Just people aren't talking, okay? Leave me alone. I'm not as popular as I was an hour and a half ago, okay?
I just want my kids. I just want my kids. I just want my family.
The restraint on these police, how do you not like roll your eyes in interrogation? Like these guys have special skills. There's a vibration. Good vibration.
We want to have you find you.
I don't know what's going on. I don't know why these things that you described happen. I don't know. It's almost like I want to say, I'm sorry, you must have somebody else. Because
exactly. How are my kids? That's it. How are my kids?
it's like, am I in the right conference room here? No. That's what I like. It's real. You know, I'm having a hard time accepting this and dealing with this.
Yeah, you can have a hard time. The next question is, how do I get to my children? How do I get to them?
I mean, you're telling me that you're taking my kids from me. Like, we need to transfer the titles of the car to my name, you know, or we're going to cancel these credit cards and stuff like that. So just stuff related to the finances really is our only communications over the past year.
And you didn't think to ask about your own children?
We've had zero communications regarding the kids.
Okay. Look at him separating himself.
I have no reason to believe or think that there was anything going on. For all intents and purposes, I woke up this morning looking at the picture of my family and making my commitment today, as I do every day, that I'm going to live an honest, a virtuous, and a responsible life today. And what you're sharing with me just feels like a sucker punch.
Yeah, it should. Because nobody should ever go through this. Ever.
Just imagine.
Especially
Brianna,
children.
Questions? Okay.
If I still have a family,
Yeah.
and
I agree. I definitely agree because of the things that he says in his second interview. I think that there was some smooches going on between Ruby and Jodi for all intents and purposes. Allegedly, these are all my opinions. Because it got to the point where she started sleeping in bed with her. And yeah, there was some, and also she just like outwardly hates all men. And it's always getting the women away from the husbands. It's wild.
like I just I don't know what my plan. My plan is to go to God
Sure.
and to figure this out.
Right.
And
Buzz.
I am just heartbroken what you all are sharing with me.
I can't imagine.
And I feel responsible.
Yeah, a little bit. Yes. I'm sorry, Kevin. Just because you didn't physically do it, right? To be silent sometimes is to be complicit. You gave sole trust. Your wife said, if you want to fix this marriage, you're not going to see us anymore. You're going to go live somewhere else, and you're going to be separated from me and your children indefinitely. And you went, yeah, all right. No questions asked. Sure. You never asked about the kids. You never checked in on them at least from what I'm gathering, right, from this interview, we never talked about the kids. We only talked about the finances. We only talked about closing credit cards and car titles. I feel like I'm responsible as a parent who just gave up on his children because he didn't want to give up on his marriage. Yes, in my opinion.
Separating, leaving. It hurts. And I wish I was a better husband.
I wish I was a better husband. Again, the verbiage should be, I wish I was a better father. Your wife is an adult. She does not need protection. Your children need protection. Right. How can you look at a picture every day and not wonder, how are my kids for a year? It's insane. My stepson's mom said if anything ever happened between me and Michael, I would still be allowed to see my stepson. I've been around since he was 6 months and he's about to be 13. Right. They're children.
I know you're all doing your jobs. And I know you all have the best interests of my kids in mind. I appreciate that.
Thank you. Thanks. That means a lot.
I just want my kids back. I want my family back. I want my wife back.
I want my wife back. If I found out that my husband did this to my kids, yeah, I'd want my husband back. To give him a nice knuckle sandwich. Just. But he is my son too. Exactly.
Okay.
I don't want this to sound rude, Kevin.
Oh boy.
We've got some things to do, but we're not kicking you out. But the building's closed.
You don't have to go home, but you can't stay here.
Okay. You're gonna be okay driving home? I really am worried about you. Okay. Do your best, breathe. Gotta pull over the side of the road. Do you drink Red Bulls?
Want your water to go, Kevin?
Do you drink Red Bulls? All right, let's see what we got here. I got to be done in about a half an hour. So let's see. What else do we got? So we saw this one. Maybe he means the wife he knew that didn't abuse his kids. Maybe he means the wife he knew that didn't abuse. Oh, I see what you're saying. Right. Right. Ooh, sentencing. Okay, well, watch
For
this.
the past 4 years, I've chosen to follow counsel and guidance that has led me into a dark delusion.
Oh, a dark delusion. Here we go. For the past 4 years, I have decided to follow Jodi Hildebrandt. None of this is my fault.
My distorted version of reality went largely unchecked, as I would isolate from anyone who challenged me.
Your conduct in this case was disastrous for these children, Adults are supposed to protect children.
Yes.
Ruby Franke and Jodi Hildebrandt have officially been sentenced for abusing Franke's 2 young children. It was a dramatic day inside and outside of court, and we have the full recap for you. Welcome to Sidebar, presented by Law and Crime. I'm Jesse Weber. What a journey this has been in the Ruby Franke and Jodi Hildebrandt saga, right? Something that we've been covering since August. We have reached the point where both women have officially been sentenced in a Utah courtroom, and that is what we're going to recap now for you, their sentencing. Now remember, Ruby Franke, she was the once popular mommy vlogger who started this now defunct YouTube channel called 8.
And remember, they got sentenced with second-degree child abuse.
Passengers alongside her husband Kevin, or her estranged husband Kevin, I should say. And this was a channel that had over 2 million subscribers at one point. It documented their lives alongside their 6 children. But you fast forward a few years, and Franke stopped posting on the channel. This
I want to go to the phone calls.
Backlash from the online community over her strict parenting techniques.
Hold on, I want to go to
Eve,
Ruby
this is my tape.
Franke.
What are you doing? What are you doing to this poor baby? Should I tape your eyes to make you sleep?
See, and that's the other thing. Should I tape your eyes? She's playing with a doll. Do you know how many dolls I have that their faces all markered up? I want to hear her phone calls. Actually, Ruby Franke phone call. Let's just, jail calls after arrest. Perfect.
And please see the truth. I know it's obscured.
I'm where I see the facts, I see the truth, and that's what I'm.
Okay, so she's talking to Kevin. Here we go.
That's what I'm gathering.
You know my heart.
What are they charging you with?
You know my heart.
2 charges of second-degree felony for child abuse.
I think per child. That's why she got
2
4.
charges of second-degree felony child abuse.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
Wow. That's
Wow.
very serious.
I'm curious how you could be in an interview, how you could know what's happening, and how you could take a phone call from her and be so patient. I don't know if I would be able to take a phone call from my husband. I don't know if I'd be able to take a phone call from my husband, period. Oh my God, please. All the dolls in our house are just like naked and they have marker all over their face. And most of them are missing hands because the dog chews on them.
It's interesting. I had the prompting over the last month to read Viktor Frankl. I was reading him, and it was like the worst part was not knowing the end. He said he had an inmate that's man searched for meaning. He was a prisoner in World War II, and he said the worst part and the greatest bringing of depression was not the lack of food, and it wasn't the weather conditions. It was not knowing how long it would last. So I think I was prepared for this.
I think I was prepared for this. Maybe the worst is the fact that you have no idea where your kids are right now. Maybe that would be the worst.
I do feel strong. I feel calm. And you know what? Adults have a really hard time understanding that children can be full of evil and what that takes to fight it. You've seen what it takes to fight evil.
Wow, there's a lot to unpack in that sentence. Adults don't understand that children can be full of evil. How would you look like if you chewed your paws, dog? Adults don't know that children have evil. When we're all told that children are God's most innocent teachers, first and foremost. WTF. Yes, ma'am. Second of all, you've seen what it takes to fight evil. Doesn't that implicate Kevin? You've seen it, right? You've seen evil in children. I'd be like, bitch, you know this is recorded, right? Like, hello?
It's not the person you're fighting. And it can look like something it's not. And you've been there, you know that.
You've been there, you know that.
And so I don't know any adults who are going to see the truth.
Any adults.
So I'm calm about it.
So are you the only adult that sees that children are evil? Are you the only one? Messiah Franke? Children are the product of their environment 99% of the time, and the other 1% is medical. They aren't inherently evil. I agree. Children exhibit behaviors that they are taught, and behaviors that are deemed acceptable, or behaviors that get them attention, because that is what they are seeking.
About this, and I just pray that you'll hang in there.
You have 1 minute remaining for this call.
I think I can call back, but...
Yeah, but just in case, I'm preparing to step up and fight for the children.
Oh,
They've been
thanks,
taken.
Kevin, for coming around.
And there's going to be a hearing in the next couple of days here in Provo.
I'm sorry, I signaled to Joe. Will you say that one more time?
Yes, I'm prepared to step up and fight for the children. They've been taken into custody. They're in foster care.
I'm prepared to step up and take and to fight for the children. I'm prepared to step up and take care of my kids. My kids. There's such a weird separation between Ruby and Kevin and the children. Whereas, like, me as a parent, and I mean, I can only explain, but I am connected to my kid. Okay, let me give you an example. This is going to sound really crazy. Stay with me. When I had my daughter, I was very concerned about the fact that I wouldn't be able to love her the way that I loved my son. I didn't understand how my heart could love two things the same way. And I was worried that I was going to have a favorite, and I was worried that, whatever the case was, and that I had too much love for my son that I wouldn't have enough for my daughter. When I had my daughter, I could visibly see and I could feel two almost like strings attached to my children. I was connected to both of them. I could feel that connection when they were outside of my body. I feel connected to them. I know when they look a certain way. I know when they feel a certain way. I know when something is different or not right. And the separation that these two have with their children, but not with each other, is bizarre to me.
And there's going to be a hearing within the next 2 or 3 days.
What about Abby and Julie?
Them too, all 4 were taken.
Where did they go to get Abby and Julie?
I don't know. They while I was with them, they got Abby, and they were looking.
You have
for
exceeded the allowable time for this call.
Bye, bitch.
Goodbye.
Yeah.
Yeah, hi.
Okay.
When I saw how long this separation was lasting, I wanted to think of some ways that I could bring in money or make some money if you didn't ever come back. So
if you didn't ever come back, you were the one. What?
That's when I asked if you would co-sign on a loan if I found a house, and maybe I could Airbnb it or rent it out, or I've been playing with numbers in my head, and I think I could make something, but I don't want to be dumb. I want to be very conservative. So I pulled the money, and I have it in a bag. And
With you? Do the police have it?
Well, I don't know what the police took. I don't know what the police have.
I have money in a bag.
But the bag was at Jodi's house?
They can't just take people's money. I mean, that's not right.
Well, they're not going to take the money, but when they have a search warrant, they have access to everything in the house.
Sure. Yeah.
I have a feeling we're going to need that money.
We might do. So, I haven't been making big purchases. I've been very conservative. I think the biggest expense has been the kids' schooling, and that's...
The kids' schooling? They were going to school? No, they were being homeschooled, right? I don't know what they were doing for schooling. They couldn't go to school. There's no way that they could go to school. They had to be being homeschooled because somebody would have reported something somewhere.
They have enough curriculum to get them for a couple years. So.
Okay.
So they're
I
being
just received a text from Ted Dawson out of the blue. Ted Dawson, who I haven't heard from in years.
What, he just texted you?
Yeah, the story's out. So he said,
story's out.
Stormy sent me an article and it just broke my heart. I just wanted you to know I'm thinking about you, and if I can ever be a resource, we are always here.
Are we in the news?
Are we in the news?
It
You
sounds
are.
Like at least you're in the news. I don't know about me. I don't know what he's talking about. But.
At least you're in the news.
I'm wondering if they went to Sherry to, ask her questions.
And immediately she goes to pinpointing her older daughter, Sherry. I wonder if they went to her to get that news.
These bookings are public.
I know they are. And a couple months ago, Business Insider was reaching out to me, and I ignored their email. But I'm going dark.
This is a witch.
I'm not at BYU.
This is a witch
I'm not
hunt,
at BYU anymore, so I don't know how they're going to find me.
Yeah, maybe it was a blessing. This is a witch hunt. The devil's been after me for years. And
it's hard for the devil to be after you when you are the literal devil. Thanks, Ruby.
He's mad as heck.
Have you shared that with the detectives?
I have not said a word until I have an attorney.
Okay, well, you know that this phone call is being recorded.
You have 1 minute remaining for this call.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, that will come out.
Okay.
When we were driven to the jail, the detective was putting us in the car, and Jodi said, "I trust you." So
they're going to be in the hospital for 3 days.
So weird.
So weird.
It's not necessary.
That's not necessary.
They're trying to exaggerate this.
They're trying to exaggerate this. That boy could barely walk up to the door. You could see the bones in your daughter's elbows and shoulders and feet.
They didn't show me. Well, they didn't show me any pictures or anything, but the way they described it, it was very serious.
So this phone call is after he did that interview that we just watched. And he knows what she's been charged with, and he knows what was told about his kids, and he is still...
You have exceeded the allowable time for this call. Goodbye.
I don't know what you call it. You had to put her in a chair, and it was horrible. It was torturous last night hearing the screaming. And
also, why, when they were transported to the police station, why were her and Jodi put in the same vehicle? Like, if they're in cahoots together, why are we putting them together? That doesn't make any sense to me. And also, she goes on to talk about how torturous prison is, right? How it was so hard to listen to this woman screaming. But you couldn't even take it when one of your children side-eyed you or squinted into the sun because they were in the desert. Okay.
Begging and people is like, okay, that's upsetting. But the most upsetting thing is that I am completely misunderstood. That is the most horrible feeling, like my own family misunderstood.
I'm so sure. That is the most horrible feeling, is that you're misunderstood. That nobody understands why you would put cayenne pepper sauce and honey on your kids' wounds. Why you wouldn't feed them for days. Why you would kick them with boots. Why you would shove them into cactuses. Why you would beat them with belts. Just so misunderstood.
Understands me. They misinterpret me. And poor Jodi, they misinterpret her. They misunderstand her. She puts her neck out on the line for people, and then they get mad at her. I mean, it is just horrendous.
It's so funny to hear this now. Poor Jodi. She's just doing everything she can, and she puts her neck out on the line, and then she goes and she turns on her. Poor Jodi. I didn't do it. Jodi did.
It's horrendous. And you know what? Every Joseph Smith, every wonderful man of God has had to be misunderstood.
That's right.
And so I'm going to get out of this. Who knows? Maybe in 10 days I'll get out of this.
No.
If I'm, if truth prevails right now, or, who knows, like 20 years? I don't know. I don't know how long.
Truth
but I'm going to
prevails.
step
The
out. I'm
truth
going to say,
did prevail, which is why your children are currently being protected.
I went through everything. I have seen God's children suffer. All the people here, my jail cellmates, have been beautiful women, but they've been hurt.
I'm going to punch myself in my own face. She is sitting here crying about how she has empathy for God's children sitting in prison with her, but zero empathy for her own children who are actually children.
They've been deceived into drugs, and my heart just has so much compassion for them. And I have compassion for the cops, and I have
for the cops,
for myself,
for my kids,
and then to be told that I'm suicidal, I'm like, no, that's not true. Anyway,
no, I'm not suicidal. I would never hurt myself. Only my kids. I know, it's awful. It is disgusting.
You need to let
Sherry, that was either Sherry or one of your siblings.
Well, they're all in cahoots. One means all of them, but yes, you're right.
They're all in cahoots. The mother against the siblings and her daughter. They're in cahoots. They're against me.
In your hearing, I don't know if you've considered this. I don't know if it'd be helpful, but you could have the house.
Oh, thank you.
And if all the kids go to the house, you've got room there, and I will gladly stay away and let you guys be. So I don't know if that's helpful. I'm just giving it to you if it is.
Thank you.
I'm
And
pretty sure there's going to be an order that she can't see her kids.
in the discussions with my attorney, that's the only way that we're going to retain custody of the children.
That's fine.
That's fine. I did all this work to get the devil out of them because I believe that they're living in distortion and that they're actual demons, and I'm trying to save them with my whole being. But, if you just want to take them and I never see them again, that's fine. It's fine.
is 35 years in this, and he said even if you are acquitted and are released, they will place legal restrictions on your access to the under 18 children.
There we go.
I figured such. God told me. God told me when I was driving before I called you. I didn't have any information.
It's interesting that God told her that, but God was never like, hey, could you ease up on these kids a little bit?
Know anything, and the Spirit said, your children are going to be removed. And I cried out loud. I'm like, no, I'm not done. I'm not ready.
I'm not done.
And God told me I'm done. And I just, oh.
No, honey. God decided that they had had enough. God had decided that they were tired.
So, Satan has taken everything away from me that I love.
Satan.
And I'm a good woman. I don't do naughty things.
Ugh.
I don't do naughty things.
Why is she using the word naughty?
I'm a really good girl.
Ugh.
Ruby, I'm going to do everything that I can
Yuck.
Okay.
to keep truth in our family, and
Thank you.
I'm committed to our family. I'm committed to you and our marriage, no matter what happens.
Kevin.
Thank you.
This is where I get lost on Kevin. This is where I get lost. No matter how much you love somebody, those are your children. And this is where you lose me. You have all this information about your kids. You have the fact that they're taken into custody. You have the fact that they have to be under a medical watch. But I'm committed to you, Ruby, with 2 second-degree felony counts of child abuse. What?
Be here to support you in any way that I can.
Oh, hey, Kevin, guess what? You already did that. And now we're here. So.
Bring up.
I do need to go, but
okay. All right.
Call me back when or if you need.
When will you find out? How can I call you? When should I call so I find out what they say?
I don't know how long this will go, but if you call this afternoon, I will know. This is a preliminary hearing, so there will be no.
Okay. Well, it's hard to get a phone around here. I asked for a phone, and it took hours to get it, so it may not be until later tonight.
I asked, and it took hours to get a phone. You're asking for a phone. Your kids were asking for food and water.
Okay.
That's fine.
Okay. All right. Good luck. I will be praying for you. Okay.
Thank you.
Bye.
Goodbye.
Bye.
This is a call from and paid for by
Ruby Franke, Purgatory Corrections.
An inmate at Purgatory Correctional Facility. This call is subject to recording and monitoring.
You know what? You know what would have avoided all of this? She needs to be praying for herself. Maybe she could have just prayed for her kids. Maybe she could have prayed for them and their behavior, and I don't know.
You don't wish to talk, hang up now.
Click.
Hello?
Who is this?
Hello? Thank you for using Telmate.
Can you hear me?
Yes. Can you hear us?
Yeah.
Us. Who is this?
Okay, that was
over there.
It's 9:30. We're good.
Okay. Right?
Yeah. Yeah. We're 8 hours ahead.
Okay.
Us on a phone call. I'm going to assume this is her parents, which How do you take that phone call? Right? Okay, so here's where okay. Ruby Franke's your baby, right? No matter how old your children get, they're babies. They're your babies. They're your children. They're the loves of your life. But then come your grandkids, right? And your daughter, okay, is accused of doing this to her children. Now we're stuck in a different position because I would do anything for my kids. But now my kid is, my parents would let me rot. My parents would let me rot for a lot less. But like, I try to put myself in this position. This is where I get fuzzy because in this position, I don't know what I would do. And it's like the love of my life, my baby, is accused of doing something incredibly heinous.
I'm glad you could call us back.
Yeah. I haven't used the phones very much. They're kind of hard to figure out, but yeah, I think I figured out how to use. I don't think this one will shut me off. I think the one I called you was a free call, and this one will be paid for by my account. Kevin, Bo put some money in it.
Oh, good. Kevin, after finding out that his kids were abused and in the hospital by Ruby Franke, put money on her account.
But I was saying I can't say everything that I want to say, but I really did feel like the arrest was like a rescue. Like I just felt so many angels around, and it was like a relief. It was just really kind of surreal.
It was a rescue, just not for you. I feel like your grandchildren would trump because they're the innocent ones. I agree. And that's the hard part, right? Like, I'd want to talk to my kids and be like, explain this away, please. Just please. It's a little different when it comes to your kids that I'm like, I get why they took the phone call. She discussed me. I know.
Kind of strange.
Same.
But I just keep thinking about, President Nelson's talk, think celestial, and I know he said in the past about myopic thinking, and he's given a lot of context to, how small this life really is, and I'm just so grateful. How many people, will go to the grave not having woken up, and I want to use this time, and I am using this time to change, to repent.
I'm curious if these people like Kevin or like her parents are still having the same conversations with her or allowing her the same time that they extended to her before the footage was released, right? Of the kids and what they looked like and just anything.
Do what I can to let the Lord know I love him and my family. And I've had many experiences here to kind of guide my thinking. It's like, I don't know.
I don't know if you can find them. I'm not sure if you can because she pled guilty and because a lot of the information is redacted. I don't know. So she sits here and she talks about how she wants to repent and, make changes and all this stuff. And then she talks about how she was brainwashed and was living in this distortion and this delusion. And, all of a sudden it's like, I want to repent and be different. You've been in jail for like a month, maybe. You did this for years. Years. It's just that quick for you to be like, just kidding. I'm different now. I've changed.
My attorney's been really good. Did you know my attorney is...
I believe that God has a hand in the old Ruby, being...
Oh, yeah, talking on the phone call and maybe sending a few dollars to her makes sense as the parents, but I would think definitely side with the children regardless. I would know that she needs to be there. LOL, my bad, bro. Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I think as a mother, I would want to talk to my child and be like, what are you doing? What's going on? Why did this happen? How did this happen? I don't know if I could extend that same grace for my husband. Like how Kevin can sit on this phone call and be like, I'm here for you. Like, no. No.
Kind of set free or whatever you want to call it, that, thing being gone.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I could not come out of this without his grace, without his mercy, without his help. This has been the strangest and the most miraculous intervention. It put everybody where they needed to be.
No. You can believe in God or a higher power or the universe or whatever. This is the strangest, most miraculous intervention. No, ma'am. Your son, who is 12 years old, in underwear, socks, and a shirt that wasn't his, bravely, like a hero, left the house, escaped from the house after being tied up, after being starved, after being beaten, after doing all of those things by the person he's supposed to trust the most, escaped to save himself and to save his sister. There was no miraculous intervention. Your son's a fucking hero. Kids are going to have not only emotional scars, but physical scars as a reminder of what mom did. And that's the thing. Physical scars will heal and they'll lighten up. Emotionally, the work and the years that this is going to take
separated me from Jodi, so I'm not hearing her. And I think just being gone and not hearing her has cleared a lot of things up for me.
Wait, but I thought you were brainwashed. Just not hearing her? Just not hearing her voice? That just did it? The amount of trauma these babies will have is going to be insane.
And it put the kids in a place where they're...
You have exceeded the allowable time for this call.
Bye.
Goodbye.
Did you see that Jodi pled guilty today?
I did see that. Yes. Is that a relief for you?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a big relief.
And here's why it's a relief. Because they both pled guilty, which means the trial's pretty much over for two reasons. It is a relief because, A, the children won't have to go through a trial. But if they plead guilty and it's over, I cannot imagine how much evidence they have against these two. I believe that we've only just scratched the surface of evidence, honestly. All right, 10 minutes. I got to go.
It's a big relief. There would have been positive the other way too. Had she not pled guilty, there's enough evidence that she could have been convicted for life. But
she?
Yeah.
And not you? You were so confident about the decisions you were making, you kept a fucking journal. Dear diary, today I threw my son into a cactus. The fuck?
that would have been messy. It would have been really messy, and
Yeah,
the
I'm
kids
glad
would have.
you didn't go that way.
Messy for who? For you?
So
As well?
So do you and her get the same outcome no matter what now, or is there a chance that it would be different?
That's a really good question. That's one that I've asked Lamar. No, we can still have different outcomes. So Ellie asked a little bit about this. I wrote it out in a text to her. But so the next thing that will happen is I will fill out, and she will fill out probation and there's another P, paperwork. And basically you go through your history and you tell them your history, which there's no history on me. There's nothing, no criminal history, no mental health history, nothing. And
mental health history, I would beg to differ. Because nobody in their right mind is able to do this to children.
Also hiring a professional to do a mental health evaluation, just to say she's good, like there's no mental health problems at all. And then that will go to my probationary board. Jodi, she can lie on her paperwork. And
can you not also lie on your paperwork? Not you. You can't be that freaking crazy and have never had mental health history. Oh, you can be that crazy and not have had mental health history. I mean, she doesn't believe in doctors. She didn't believe in police. She didn't believe in hospitals. So I doubt she saw a doctor. But she's going to hire somebody who's going to say that she doesn't have any mental health issues. But you can't tell me that you're capable of doing this to children and mentally there is nothing wrong with you. And I love how she's like, Jodi can lie on her paperwork. Can't you also do that?
She probably will. I don't think she's going to give them.
Oh, but wait. I thought when you were first put in jail, it was Jodi. I feel so bad for her. My empathy, my compassion. She puts her neck out on the line and people just are so nasty to her.
History. But I think in the interview, it's going to be apparent that she's mentally ill.
Ma'am, you did this to your own children.
And so that will affect how long someone, because they're looking, how repentant are you? How much responsibility are you taking? How are you aware that what you've done is wrong? And she's not.
I love that I love that these are recorded. I love that she's laying out in a recorded phone call all of the things that the probationary board need. Just let that sit for a second.
The only reason she pled is because she didn't want to do life. She knew I would testify.
So then why did you plead? What?
The other thing is on my plea deal, when I come up for probation.
Because you can't tell me that you plead guilty and then you put this much blame on Jodi. For real, let it marinate. Let it sink in. Put that bitch in a sous vide and let it sit overnight. She knows exactly what she needs to go to the probationary board. And then she talks about being guilty and accepting responsibility and then turns around and blames it on Jodi.
The prosecuting attorney can, often, if they think that you're a danger to society, will talk to the probationary board or write them a letter saying, I think she needs to stay where she is. He's going to stay neutral and not write any letter when my probation comes up, which is a really big deal.
How do you know that? Does she get to talk to the prosecutor? How does she know that?
But for her, he's not going to stay neutral.
And he told you that? That I'm going to stay neutral for you, but not for Jodi? Is he allowed to, like, divulge that information? What?
So we can come up to probation, and I can get off on probation, and she may not.
So what does probation look like? Like, what does that all entail?
It can look like several different things, I think. I'm still learning about this, and I think I never realized how complicated it is. I always thought you pled guilty and they tell you how long you're in.
Yeah, there's a lot of terminology to know.
Yeah, and you know, half of the stuff that is said goes over my head, and then I have to go, you know, I come back and I ask the girls here, I'm like, what does this mean? What does this mean?
Yeah. Imagine being her cellmate. I can't. I'm annoyed, and I've spent 2 hours of my time listening to her. Imagine living in a fucking prison with her.
But probation could look like going home. Like, you could go home. Sometimes, you know, it might look like going home with restrictions, like you can go home, but you need to live with somebody who's responsible, and you can't be around certain people. Like, they may say you could go home if
you have to go home, but you can't
parents
stay here.
Agree to house you, but you can't go home to where your kids are living. It could look like something like that. Or it could look like something where I have an ankle monitor. Or it could look like you can go home if you pay a $10,000 fine. Or maybe it could look like instead of serving the rest of your time, we'll give you some good time and you can go home in half the time. Or so I think that getting off on probation, I think looks like there's several different ways that could happen.
Oh, I see. That's good to know.
I see. That's good to know. Okay. I have to go for today. You guys have been amazing. I would like to keep this up and keep going and just keep discussing this. And I've just had a good time talking to you guys about different things and parenting and you know, this case in general. If there's other cases that you would like me to cover, please let me know in the comments down below. If you feel so inclined, please follow me on TikTok, Instagram, Twitch, and YouTube. I'm umming a lot now. I won't be on tomorrow, but I will be on at some point on Thursday and every Friday at noon. I'm going to get back to that. So other than that, you guys have been the best. This has been a good time. Great conversations, and I will see you guys next time. Bye, everybody. Thanks for hanging with me. I'll see you in the Discord. Bye, 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 bye.